place at the right time. That's all I can tell you. And Ulosophy would take care and handle the spiritual side. We go ahead and handle the mindset side. The concept, we drill into you the concepts that the high and elite did not want you to know, and they are born with it. That is why bloodlines have happened throughout history. And then comes the financial side, which is Hex.com, Post-Chain, Post-X, Rich the Heart projects. These things are going to change the world. You know, I was told long ago that whatever has more controversy, usually that's the thing that they don't want you to do. Hex.com. And then we have the gathering side. We ask you to get together as a group. We ask you to be as a community. We ask you about membership. You do not have to be alone. My people, how's everything going? Once again, in front of the camera. You know, many of you don't know my story as to how I got into self-help, how I got into religion, how I got into spirituality, and how I formed Ulosophy. But let's just I'm gonna put it to you in the most simplest way possible, because we could well be here for 5-10 plus hours. When I was very young, I was very fortunate to go ahead and have the desire to be very curious when it comes to this thing called life. You know how people want to, have that, how scientists say, I just had that spark that one day that, one day I realized I wanted to know more about the stars and what's out there. The same thing, when I was a child, I just had the curiosity of what life itself is like. I came to the realization that there's really no type of reason for us to really live. Like, there's no, how can I put it to you? The reason life happens, there was no reason for it to really happen. Nothing for it to really advance the universe. In other words, the universe is parting away from each other at millions and millions and millions miles per hour, right? To the point that every single atom is going to be separated. That's what science tells us. Science tells us that not even the atoms of a thought, which thought is physical matter. They can test it on a machine. Thoughts are physical matter, and not even the atoms of thoughts would not even exist. The idea of who you are, what you believe in, and anything else everything is meant to separate from each other, from what science tells us. But at the end of the day, it's not something very good to have. Like, if I had a choice, and I would, God would say, hey, look, I can go ahead and take you back in time. Would you still want to go through this or not? To be honest, most likely the reason would be no, because it has caused a lot of mental anguish, and I had to pause the video there for a bit. But yeah, no, I think the mental anguish of having, such curiosity regarding life, it's definitely a double-edged sword, because it takes away a lot of peace, a lot of sleep out of your nights. It takes a lot of peace throughout your day. It takes out a lot. It takes a lot out of you. Bottom line, for you to go ahead and be curious and be a person that you want to know what life is about, and you have all these, these different ways that, that are promising to tell you what life is about. I mean, we didn't come with no book, but there's so many different ways and paths. All you can really do is listen and observe and study. This is why those who give themselves to religion itself, they give themselves usually for life to the religion, because this is a lifelong journey. In my case, I just wanted to go ahead and know, like, I knew from a very young age that we weren't rich, but we weren't poor either. Like, I never went without a meal that I could never remember in my childhood. We weren't poor, like, I'm talking about poor where you're missing, or where there's days you can't eat, where your stomach, I hear stories of people from around the world, and they said, look, I was starving, and it hurts when you can't eat. And no, that wasn't me. Also, my parents worked hard enough that they worked hard. Both of my parents, and they were able to go ahead and get me good things. I'm not gonna say designer. I'm not gonna say, but I got Nikes. Yes, I got good, long-lasting clothes. And it was a very good childhood, that I wouldn't trade it for anything. That's why my mother, I will always have her in my heart for as long as she lives, and even after that, like, she's my baby, because she has given me a perspective on life that nothing can go ahead and give it to you, unless, well, at least from what I've captured or seen, is a child or someone you really, really love. And since I don't have children, and really I don't want to, I don't plan to, and there's specific reasons why. She gave her hardest, right, to give me and my brother a better life. That's why she doesn't have to work. We take care of her and so forth. But my whole point of this video, guys, is that I want you guys to understand that the reason I do all of this is I don't do it for a form of payment. I'm not trying to do it in the form of impressing anyone. I'm just trying to go help, and I'm just trying to help that 15-year-old kid that may bump into my video, that has the same thoughts as me, that is having a hard time sleeping, has anxiety, and is burning his brain cells by thinking so much about everything and anything. That's what I really do it for. But as I've come to develop what Ulosophy is, with the hundreds and hundreds of hours that's available online, then at this point we can say that there's room for it. there's a specific room for it, and definitely it's not for everybody. And I didn't make it in a way for it to be for everybody. I try to be as open as I can, but I'm gonna give it to you direct. Ulosophy is Christian based. The foundation is based on Christianity. If you don't believe that, that's totally fine. I totally understand it. It's not for everybody. The Bible says that Christianity is not for everybody. Almost every religious text talks about how that religion is not for everybody. Even L. Ron Hubbard, the inventor of Scientology, says that Scientology is not for everybody. Anybody who tells you that something is for everybody, run away. Run away for that person. The whole point of this is that we have come to an age where we can share so much information with each other, and we can help each other make our lives better by sharing our story. In the Bible, when Jesus comes back after his death in the resurrection, the first thing he does is, when he appears to the disciples, he shows them his wounds. He shows them his wounds. Why? Why is that? That's because he does it very specifically in a way that whenever you know that you're not alone in this, and that someone else suffered as well and could have suffered even worse, you realize that the world is much smaller than you think. We're much similar than we think, and that the deeper the wound, the more common it is. So the deeper you think your wound is because of what life has given you, the more common it is. But just like you, because you don't want to talk about it, which is totally fine, most people don't talk about it. That's why your specific situation, or the specific way that your life is, and whether you think is good or bad, usually bad, if you're thinking it in the way we're talking about it, then at that point, then you could see why you never quite find the person that really has your specific problem. Oh yeah, he has that problem I have, but oh yeah, he has that problem, or she has that problem, but there's always a but. The thing is that just the deeper the wound, the more common it is. You have to understand that. It feels good to know that you're not alone. And that is what evil exists. Evil exists in the world. That's a known fact. Evil exists. The gazillion movements and particle movements that are made every single day around the earth, the hundreds of things that have to be done, put in place, taken care of every single day, so you and I can go ahead and try to have the most restful sleep that as we can, is being done. Like, there's things that if you knew everything, you wouldn't be able to sleep. You wouldn't be able to be productive. You wouldn't be able to go ahead and live a life. You wouldn't be able to, put in your part for, quote, your country or whatever, because, tax paying or so forth. You wouldn't be able to produce if you knew all the evil that goes on in the world, and how much, quote, the government attempts to go ahead and neutralize that. You would go ahead and hide in a corner and probably cry yourself to death and never want to come out. That's life. That's what life is. Evil exists, and whatever that evil is, or where it originates from, does not want you to go ahead and be around people. The gathering side of Ulosophy is so important. That is why it's top 4. Remember, The first one is the spiritual part, where we focus on two specific things: the condemnation parts and the unrestfulness parts, because those are the two things. I believe, in my opinion, the condemnation is the root cause of all problems in life. So I want you to imagine like a plant. Imagine a plant, right? The root is condemnation. Then from the root, you get fear. From fear, you get stress. And from stress, you get all the bad things that are in your life: marriage problems, financial problems, family problems, self-help problems, mental health problems, problems at work, problems with friends, problems with dating, problems. You can name them, right? In my opinion, they come from the root cause is condemnation. One, we believe we're not good enough. Two, we believe we don't deserve it. Three, we feel that, subconsciously and unconsciously, we feel that we don't deserve this, and that we we feel too many errors occur. We go by what the world tells us right is. So, for example, I'll give you an example. I've always been a little bit overweight throughout my life. When I was around 20 to 24, I lost weight, and I became another skinny guy. Do you know how, of all the things that I thought that I was going to go ahead and gain with being, quote, skinny, other than health, right? You know what I gained? Nothing at all. Actually, I had a better experience just being myself, just, of course, try to eat healthy when you can eat healthy, make sure you do a little bit of exercise, but mainly mineral supplementation, 100% whole food mineral supplementation, and a boost in oxygen is in my opinion, is the key to life, is the key to longevity, and is the key to being healthy. Now, that doesn't mean that it's gonna make you lose weight. It might, because of many things, and those are things that I've talked about before. But one thing that you have to go ahead and realize when you go through life every single day is that the main problem that you have, a billion other people have it. Bottom line. So give me a quick second. All right, guys. So one of the things that, we talk about is your eyes will always deceive you. Your eyes will always deceive you is so true, because no matter how much of a person you think that you are at reading people, even if you're an FBI agent or a CIA agent and you know how to read people, and your life depends on it, your eyes will always deceive you. People never turned out the way that you thought that they are if you just meet them. They're never the person that you thought they are. You could have a person with a black shirt, some socks, some sweats and some tennis shoes, or maybe some sandals, I don't know, walk around shopping in the mall or something, and you may think, oh man, look at this person, like, why would he go out like that? Like, doesn't he want to get like girls, or doesn't he want girls to at least take a quick look at him? Well, what if he has gotten more girls than you will ever get in your life? Your eyes will always deceive you. So that's a principle that the high elite believe in. They believe that your eyes will always deceive you. It's talked about in the movie Star Wars. See, there's certain things that are put in movies, and the reason they do that is to go ahead and live little drips, so you can get accustomed to a certain situation a little bit more and more. It's the theory, the conspiracy theory, if you want to say that. But in the movie Star Wars, where Luke is training to fight Darth Vader, I think Obi-Wan Kenobi is training him. He is told, he's having trouble training. He's having trouble succeeding in training. And Obi-Wan Kenobi tells him, like, don't trust your eyes. Your eyes will always deceive you. And that's true with life. Your eyes will always deceive you. No matter how good of a person you think this person is, your eyes will always deceive you. No matter how bad of a person you think this guy is, your eyes will always deceive you. No matter how good of a person you think this girl is, your eyes will always deceive you. No matter how bad of a person you think this girl is, your eyes will always deceive you. No matter how ugly you think this girl is, your eyes will always deceive you. No matter how pretty you think this girl is, your eyes will always deceive you. Your eyes will always deceive you. And that's a principle that you have to go ahead and learn to apply every single day. Your eyes will always deceive you. Whatever you see in front of you, I want you to imagine, a radar screen. A radar screen can only show you so much. It can't show you the entire picture. So the only thing that you have to go ahead and pay attention to is to the only logical thing that you have access to, which is your radar screen, what's in front of you. Do not, just because you see that, hell is breaking loose in your radar screen, doesn't mean that help is not on the way, or that, there's ships that are going to clear this destruction for you. Your eyes will always deceive you. Do not pay attention to your eyes. Stop paying attention to your eyes. All basic training takes 5 minutes to learn, but a lifetime to master. We tell people that the basics are the key. Bruce Lee says it. I'm not afraid of the man who knows 10,000 moves but only practiced it once. I'm afraid of the guy who knows one move and practiced it 10,000 times. The basics, the foundation. Without a foundation, you don't have a house, you don't have a building. The deeper that foundation and the stronger that foundation, the stronger your building. Focusing on the basics, that's the key. That's the secret. Focusing on the basics is the secret. That's the secret. If you want me to go ahead and put down the entire book of success into one phrase, is that the secret is the basics. The basics. And the basics are the information that we teach in the spiritual part, the health part, the mindset part, and the financial part, and the gathering part. So those are the basics and the information within it. The goal of Ulosophy. What is the goal of Ulosophy? Through all the parts, from the part of condemnation to unrestfulness, to the health, to the concepts that we have to drill into your DNA. You have to make them part of your DNA, which means that you have to be an unconscious competence. You have to act them out. You are these concepts. You don't think about them. You are these concepts. What's the entire goal of all this? What is the entire goal? Think about it. It's really just to help you achieve your dreams and to help you have, be, or do anything and everything you want in life. Basically a helping hand. That's why the Ulosophy logo, if you see, it's a hand on top of a hand. It's a helping hand. We give you a hand up. We don't give you a handout. We give you a hand up. It's a helping hand. That's the whole point, is to help you achieve your dreams and help you realize that you can have, be, or do anything and everything you want in life. Bottom line. If you want to be a master, you must master the basics. Any master in anything, whether it's in finances, in martial arts, in engineering, any sort of master at anything, he masters the basics. That's what he focuses on, the basics. And if you really dig in into what he focuses on, is that the basics. If, like I mentioned, the secret to all of this is mastering the basics. To know and not to do is not to know. So if you know something, but if you are not doing it, you are not acting upon it, then you don't know it. To know and not to do is not to know. If you think you know something, but you're not doing it, then you don't know it. If it's a certain concept and you say, I know that concept, I've heard it a million times. Well, are you doing it? If you're doing it, then you know it. If you're not doing it, you don't know it. So that's what separates the man from the children, the winners from the losers. To know and not to do is not to know. Self-awareness is being aware of your strengths and being aware of your weaknesses. One thing that I advise all the Ulosophy members to do is just take a sheet of paper and draw a line in half, and on one side put strengths, on one side put weaknesses, and just do this simple strategy. On one side put all your strengths that you believe you have, and then on the other one put all the weaknesses that you think you have. You have to be have a self-realization about yourself and know that who you are. You have to know yourself. So when somebody tells you or says something about you that's a lie, you won't feel bad. When someone rejects you because supposedly maybe you're not this one thing, you know yourself, you won't feel bad. But people, just because they say no to someone, they're all dramatic and they sit down and cry, when it shouldn't be like that. You have to know yourself, and the best way to know yourself is to start with that specific strategy. Is write a list of what you think your strengths are and what you think your weaknesses are. Okay. This self-awareness allows you to realize when you're doing something wrong or correct as well. Knowing yourself. Okay, I know I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Okay, I know that I'm doing this in a form that it's bad or in a form that it's good. There's a lot of good information that we have here in Ulosophy, and I'm just going over some. There's so many documents. There's so many. If you become a member, it's the actual benefits of being a member are amazing. So once you start learning this material, you'll start seeing how other people apply it, or how other people are not applying it. That alone, that experiencing of you seeing how people apply it or don't apply it, helps you learn as well, because it's creating new neural pathways in your brain. You're seeing whether people apply it or not. You're seeing whether they're applying it or not. So, in other words, that's like the secret handshake, right? One of the secret handshakes is vocabulary. If you don't have a good vocabulary, people know that you're not part of the club. If you're not constantly reading, if you're not a ferocious reader, people know that you're not in the club. If you're always talking negative about your situations and you don't end it with something positive, for example, let's say something negative happens to you, but if you don't end it with something positive as, hey, I'll let it burn down, maybe I'll start with a clean slate, or it's all good, I have this, I could go through that, so there's it's never over for me. You know who's in the club or not, and these are the concepts that will allow you to go ahead and give the secret handshakes, and people will know, he's part of the club, because there's fraternities, there's clubs all over the world. in colleges, Yale University has Skull and Bones. You have the Freemasons. You have fraternities all over different colleges. You have other clubs, chambers of commerce. There's a chambers of commerce for Hispanics. There's chambers of commerce for African Americans. There's chambers of commerce, period. There's for Caucasians. All sorts of clubs. And the importance of clubs is because when you're in a club, you're not in a quote private industry. So what occurs? You have the option to go ahead and have 100% full freedom of speech, right? You have freedom of speech. So depending on who the founders of the club were, they have a certain ideology, and they recruit members by seeing whether they're able or not able. You're not going to recruit or try to recruit a person that is not able. You want to recruit those who are able. And at that point, you have yourself a club. But there's clubs all over the world, and many of the concepts that we teach you in the Ulosophy mindset side are the secret handshakes to where others will see you, because the majority of successful people are in these clubs. Now, the levels, whether they're in, are they very high members, or they're very medium members, are they low members, that varies. But at least they'll know you're part of the club. So the information that you'll be given or you'll be allowed to have with that specific one person can be massive compared to just a regular person, because they don't know the handshakes. If you're negative, if you're talking about why me, you're not part of it. You know that person is not part of the club. So why even waste your time? And there's clubs all over America. There's clubs all over the world. So, and many of the actual concepts are these, the ones that we teach, except we make them free for all, because I don't want, at the end of the day, even though I know not everybody is going to go ahead and take advantage of the information. I think like 10, 15 years ago, I heard someone say that there was some research done that, most people only read 20% of a book. That means they buy the book and they only read about 20% of it. So that means that for only 20% of the books, only 20% of, or is it 20% or 10 pages, 10 to 20 pages. That means you only have to write 10 to 20 pages, and you can sell a book for the full price, because most people will not read the rest. And then those people who do come and say, hey man, look, it's only 10 pages that you wrote here. Oh, my bad, I'm sorry, let me give you the full version. Not saying to do that, I'm just giving you an example. But yeah, it's most people will not even finish a book. They buy courses, will not finish the course. They will buy machines, exercise machines, and will not use the machine a lot. They will go ahead and what's another thing? They will go ahead and buy a whole bunch of things, don't even use it. And this is to help better yourself. And anything that you can do I was taught very, very early in my life that I have to invest in myself. That's the best investment, and it will pay bigger dividends in the end. And how true is that concept? Is so very true, because again, not only do I get this information, but I also go ahead and practice it, and people can see it, feel it off you. Your vibration, your DNA changes. So that means that who you are is felt different from another individual. But yeah, the reason that I made all this information quote free is because I know most people are not gonna go ahead and go over the entire thing. They're not gonna go, but I don't want to go ahead and start a club, whether it's successful or not. And really, it's not about that. A club like this is not really about it being successful or not. It's just, are we able to go ahead and get the right people, the like-minded people in it, so we can go ahead and have ourselves a good club. And there's people that join different clubs. They're members of different clubs. But at least I want to give everybody a helping chance. Unlike from the rumors that we hear of people from the past, like Henry Ford, you've heard me say, certain things about rumors that supposedly he did not like Napoleon Hill's work, and that he attempted everything to stop that work from being released because he felt that work will make more businessmen than actual worker bees, and that he will not have nobody to run his factories or produce in his factories. So that's the reason. Of course, it's a rumor. It's not something that, I'm not trying to offend the Ford family or saying that he wasn't a good guy, or this is just rumors, guys. And these are really just mean for shock of value. It's just like the rumors they say about a whole bunch of people. A whole bunch of people. Yeah. So one thing that you're gonna always be asked in our membership is, especially from your mentor, which in many other clubs they're called uncles. You're given a mentor. That mentor kind of guides you, knows the information better than you, and he guides you. But one of the things that he or she will always tell you, and this is something that you have to get used to whenever it comes to, not only realizing who is and is not in the club, but, it gives you the point of attention, is what did you observe? It's key to always observe what happens in your life and what happens in other people's lives for you to learn. So let's say you're driving with your mentor for, you're having dinner with your mentor, right? And you guys talk about a whole bunch of things. One of the questions before the end of the night is, what did you observe? Or maybe a day later, he will call you and he will say, hey, on our meeting yesterday, what did you observe? Or maybe there's an actual meeting with the members. There's a membership meeting. Hey, on yesterday's meeting, what did you observe? And that's a constant thing that, as more and more you become accustomed to this information, the more and more is something that you're going to continue to ask, not only yourself, but others. So you start with yourself. Keep asking yourself, what did you observe? What did you observe? What did you observe? What did you observe? Keep asking yourself that, and get to the point that you're so used to it that you ask other people, what did they observe? And that is what makes a great teacher. When listening to somebody, you will be deceived by your eyes, what you see, and your ears, what you hear. So your eyes, you will be deceived by your eyes, like we just went over it, but by your ears as well, because of what you hear. You might hear that something is terrible. 9 times out of 10 is never that terrible. Nothing is as bad or as good as it seems to be, or as you hear it to be, or so forth. You hear it over and over again. The hardest thing is just is to go ahead and be first. Get it over with. That's the hardest part. And then it's all easy downhill from there. Just get it over with. What never deceives you? Your feelings. But again, there's a lot of people, especially in the beginning levels of a membership of a club, people, unfortunately, may have a lot of issues regarding their mental health. They have a lot of issues regarding their nervous system. So you want to listen to your feelings, but you've had so much anxiety, so much bad things, so much trauma and so forth. Doesn't mean that you cannot be part of the club, but it's going to be a little bit more things you have to go ahead and do so you can get to that level where you can distinct the difference between your feelings and just some fake thoughts that you think are yours. See, the real talk, the real communication that God has with you is through your feelings. But people mistake them for their anxieties, for their traumas, for their insecurities, for this and that is why the spiritual side is so important. The spiritual side clears all that up, and it will go ahead and have you in a clean slate, and now you really can go ahead and trust your feelings. Many of the books on our recommended book list do not line up perfectly with Ulosophy's training. It is there to help you with discernment. In life, you have to discern. Whenever you meet people, you have to discern. One of the best ways that Ulosophy goes ahead and trains you the meaning and the importance of discernment is by giving you information that you have to go ahead and do, which is, for example, this is a great example, the basic book list. Once you become a member of Ulosophy, you're given a basic book list, and you are instructed to read those books, right? And those books, you're instructed to do two things. One, read those books, and two, make sure to have discernment, because we do not agree with everything that's in those books. And that's totally fine. And the reason for that is because that's what life is. We might not agree with everything and anything that's out there. We have to have discernment. We can't blindly follow something, but we won't be ignorant as well. See, that's the difference between a successful person and a non-successful person. Are they blindly following it, or are they just completely ignorant that they won't even pay attention to it? No, you go through it, you acknowledge it, you see it for what it is, and then you use discernment, what feels good to you at that moment. And if you go through the training, you will go ahead and make better and better discernment decisions when it comes to things like this. You don't want to let your eyes and ears affect whether you believe someone or something, or disbelieve someone or something. You must always be following your feelings instead of the triggers from what you see or hear. You don't want to let your eyes and ears affect whether you believe someone or something, or disbelieve someone or something. You must always be following your feelings instead of the triggers from what you see or hear. Again, you don't want to let your eyes and ears affect what you believe, whether you believe someone or something, or disbelieve someone or something. You must always be following your feelings instead of the triggers from what you see or hear. Again, there's a reason why the spirituality part is first. It cleans the whole slate up. It cleans the anxiety. It cleans the undeservedness, and it cleans your quote dirtiness. So you start from a clean slate. You have to stay plugged in on the spiritual side. Just like your phone needs battery power, it doesn't last forever, so do you. And that's the battery power, the spiritual side, the non-condemnation side, and also the unrestfulness side. You have to go ahead and constantly come back to it, because you have to go ahead and make sure that you are following your feelings, because your feelings is where God talks to you. But if you're a mess, especially if you have mental health issues, with which many people, many members from all these societies have, but doesn't mean that they're not able, and it doesn't mean that they can't clean it up. No, get professional help. The first thing we suggest, get professional help, which is go to your doctor, and if you need to see several doctors, see them. And second, we advise you nutrition, eat healthy, which is just take 100% whole food supplements. We tell you usually which ones. The ones we start with is the ones that are most stripped from the foods we most commonly eat, and that's number 1 chromium, number 2 selenium, number 3 silica, number 4 magnesium. How do I know all this information by just like that? How do I know it like that? That's because it's part of my DNA. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to go ahead and look at a certain note. There's certain times I look at notes, but it's really, I know this stuff. I know this information. So that's why I teach it. And also, there's a key. The best way to learn, once you feel you got a good grasp on it, is by teaching it. And you don't have to teach it to someone else. You can teach it to yourself. You can pretend you have a little seminar there, or talk to yourself. Many successful people, many successful books written by successful people say that a lot. You see that's a common denominator with successful people, is they talk to themselves. People think they might be crazy, but they talk to themselves. That's the truth. Your feelings and your thoughts sometimes are in conflict and don't line up. Again, your feelings and thoughts are in conflict and don't line up. That is why the spiritual side is so important, because your feelings may say one thing, but your thoughts may say another thing, and you kind of get confused. And that's one of the worst states you can be in, is be in a confused state. You have to go ahead and make sure that your thoughts and your feelings line up, and that's by being plugged into the spiritual side. We don't sing because we're happy because we sing. This was a quote from Zig Ziglar. I'm from Texas. Zig Ziglar, I believe, was from Dallas, and so you could just imagine in Texas how many seminars we had an opportunity to go to, or how many places we had the opportunity to go ahead and visit, where we would bump into individuals like this, like the great Zig Ziglar. That's one of the books in the basic book list that it's a requirement for you to read, and that's his book, See You at the Top. And that's something that you have to go ahead and it's recommended, and do it daily. But he said, we don't sing because we're happy because we sing. We're not happy because we got the Ferrari. We're happy because we're getting the Ferrari. We're not happy because we're getting that beautiful long-in relationship. We're happy because we're getting it. We don't have it, but we're getting it. We're not happy because our family's health problems are better. No, we're happy because they are going to get better. And this information, the Ulosophy system, gives you that faith that things will turn out good. So it's not just a thought, it's an actual belief system. Dale Carnegie said, if you want to feel enthusiastic, you must act enthusiastic. You must act enthusiastic. That's the whole point. You must act enthusiastic. If you're in a down state, if you feel sad, if you feel angry, or you feel very negative, if you pull up your shoulders and then you just start acting like if you were happy or smiling, there's been research that if you're sad or in a negative state and you smile just for, I think, 20 minutes, you trick the brain into you being happy, and suddenly you're being happy. Like at the beginning of this video, I didn't want to make this video. I have other things that I would have loved to do. But now that I started, now it's like I'm on a roll, right? But we're hitting the 1 hour limit, guys, so I didn't think I was gonna go ahead and we're gonna go over one more concept. Okay. Your gut feeling is affected by what you see and hear. And many religions believe it comes from previous life experiences. So your gut feelings are affected by what you see and hear. So that comes with PTSD, with trauma, and also the good things. There's maybe certain good things or certain euphoria feelings that you've had when you did a certain thing or something happened. So anytime that you see or hear certain things, they may get you in a good state or in a bad state. But it is also believed in many religions, and it's something we can just not ignore. Right? It's not something that we can just ignore. It's part of humanity. It's part of what humans are, and that's we are believing creatures. We believe, and many believe that the feelings that you feel in your gut are affected by what you see and what you hear, which is medically and scientifically proven, and 3, by your previous lives experiences. And that goes to religion. Although Christianity does really not talk a lot about past experiences, there is a passage in the Bible where a guy is blind and Jesus heals him, and the disciples asked Jesus, was he blind because of his parents' sin or because he sinned? And Jesus said, neither. But I'm the light of the world. Like I'm here to heal. Let's heal him. So I mean, that could be one. That could be one that could possibly give you something. Like there could be things such as past experiences. We do know that people come into this world with certain vibrations, certain things that can make their life a certain way. For example, there's kids in school called gifted, and some of them are gifted. Their parents weren't gifted, their great grandparents weren't gifted, but suddenly this child comes out with an IQ of 200. How does that happen? So there's things that we come into this world with, and that cannot be overlooked. It has to be part of people do come to this world with certain things attached, and that's more that we talk about in higher levels, well, more on the membership levels, because all the information that we give you is there. So guys, I hope you guys one day can become members of Ulosophy. It's a great club. It's a great fraternity. It's something great that you can be part of. It doesn't matter where you live, where you're from, how many members there are. All that matters is that you're gonna get a mentor, and that somebody's gonna be there for you just like a family member would. There's many people who are in very, like for example, in these very high elite clubs, fraternities, clubs that you don't even know exist. But I want you to consider this. Many of their recruits, of the people that they recruit, is people that may not have grown up with a family, may have been adopted, may have not had, may be born in a certain bloodline, and so forth. Although most of the fraternities, you have to be born within a certain bloodline, and I mean this goes to all clubs. If your parents went to college and they were part of this one fraternity, most likely you're gonna end up being part of that fraternity. The same thing happens with things like Yale Skull and Bones, the Freemasons. Matter of fact, there was a movie made about the quote secret society, Skull and Bones. It was with Matt Damon and Good Will Hunting, I think it's called. What's it, Good Will Hunting? No, it wasn't Good Will Hunting. Good Will Hunting was the one where he's a genius. But it was a movie with Matt Damon. I forgot the name of it. It's a good movie. It tells you, and I've had certain people tell me who have been privy to that fraternity, that many of the things on there are real. And so if you want to know what a secret quote fraternity is like, watch that movie. Oh man, I forgot what the name of the movie is, but I'm gonna try to see if I can find it, and I'll put it down in the description below. Also, remember, guys, to watch Richard Hardis in America. I don't know when he's leaving, but he's done already like 2, 3, 4 interviews. So make sure you check those out. Great information there. I mean, you have to look out for your finances. And we live in a material world. We need money to live. So the best way that I have found to go ahead and get this, and I'm in this journey with you, so is by hex.com, PulseChain, PulseX, Richard Hart projects. And also make sure to get a copy of Sci-Vive. Listen to his new book, 15 Different Ways to Change the World, I think it's called. The same lady that did the audiobook for Sci-Vive did an audiobook version for the new one, which I haven't heard, but I'm planning to. But Sci-Vive, man, that's a great book. It's more on the logical side. It's more on the logical side. So that's something I would suggest you go ahead and listen and see what's in store, what you can go ahead and do. But if you guys want information on membership, email us, DM us, whatever. You can DM me on Twitter, DM me on Instagram, DM me on TikTok. You can email me at ulosophy1@gmail.com. That's Ulosophy, ULOSOPHY, and then the number 1@gmail.com. And just basically a simple question. Hey, look, I love your material. I like your material. I want to know more about membership. And then at that point, you'll be given the information, and that's it. And you might become a member, And again, it's like the best description that I can give you is that whether you have a big family, little family, small family, no family, you will now have a family. We're a club. We're a fraternity. We are here for each other. That means that at 4 a.m., if you need your brother or your sister, they will pick up the phone. That's like, it's a family. It's a family. And there's certain rules in the family that you don't break. And that's one of them. That's not being there for someone who really needs you. So, if you are able, you will be able to join the club. So I love you guys. Thank you for watching this video. Like, comment, or subscribe. Show this to other people. It's great information that we're over here doing. I'm planning to do the entire thing on the mindset, so you can go ahead and get all the concepts, but also the spiritual part is just so important. That's the most important part out of anything and everything to me. The health part, I mean, what other place are you finding on YouTube, on this public sector, that is giving you this much benefit for nothing? I'm giving you this information for free. Becoming a member just takes it to another level. I love you guys. Take care.